All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, we know that Patrick Mahomes is arguably the baddest dude at quarterback right now in the NFL, and few would argue that. In Mahomes' first 5 seasons as a starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, he is already a two-time NFL MVP and a two-time Super Bowl champion. But sometimes the greatness at the quarterback position can be taken for granted by the franchise that said quarterback plays for. And you have to wonder if that is currently the case with Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now, yes, the Chiefs are currently 8-4. And yes, they more than likely will once again win the AFC West for the eighth consecutive year. But this offense is simply lacking the sizzle that we have seen in recent years. Now, the Chiefs still have Pro Bowl tight end Travis Kelsey, who is arguably the best at his position in the NFL. But Kansas City does not have a legit threat at the wide receiver position who can take some of that burden off of Kelsey in the passing game. You look at Kelsey right now, he's played 11 of the 12 games so far for Kansas City. He's doing it on a bad ankle, and he's still leading this team in receptions. You're talking about Kelsey has 74 catches, 813 yards, just 5 TDs. Next closest receiver to Travis Kelsey as far as stats this year, you got Rasheed Rice, who has 591 yards on 5 touchdowns and 52 receptions, rather. But nonetheless, the Chiefs were able to get away with this last year. And I'm talking about them trading Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. And of course, obviously, Tyreek wanted to get paid. You can understand that he has gotten paid by Miami, and Kansas City was able to, piece it together enough to go out there and win a championship last year. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at it right now. They won the Super Bowl, and you can never, I repeat, never take that away from any team that has done that. And kudos to Kansas City for winning that championship. But I'm looking at this team right now. I'm looking at this organization right now. And it has the symptoms, if you will, of getting into that area where we saw the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning on the back end of his time there, the New England Patriots for a chunk of Tom Brady's time with that organization, and then a bulk of the time with Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers. And what I'm getting to is that you have these teams that are like, our future Hall of Fame quarterback is so good that we can put anyone around him and he'll be successful. Now, that might be true, but at some point, that Hall of Fame quarterback, obviously he's going to be good enough to cover up a lot of deficiencies on said team. But at some point, you're still going to have to go out there and put talent around him. And the Chiefs right now, they just lack the talent at the wide receiver position. They've lost 4 games so far this season. Their lack of talent at that position, in my opinion, is showing up, especially in 3 of those losses, especially the last two. I mean, you go back a couple of weeks ago when the Chiefs lost at home to the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Uh, they were up 17-7, lost the game 21-17. And, Patrick Mahomes gave them multiple opportunities to win the game. Patrick Mahomes obviously is paid to throw the football. He can't catch the ball as well. And that Chiefs receiving core, they were the victims of the drops in that game. And then we saw more drops last night when they lost on the road to the Green Bay Packers, along with, some controversy as far as penalties that weren't called that should have been called and penalties that were called that shouldn't have been. But nonetheless, you are what you are. And right now, Kansas City is an 8-4 club. And I bring this up because it's not like years past, because right now, if the season ended today, and clearly, we still got 5 games left to go, Kansas City's looking at the 4th seed. Obviously, Jacksonville's playing right now on Monday night. But Miami, Baltimore, and Jacksonville are all currently ahead of Kansas City in the standings. They're all 9-3. But of course, Kansas City does own the tiebreakers over Miami, who they beat over in Europe, and then Jacksonville, who they went down to Duval County and beat earlier this season. But nonetheless, what Mahomes and the Chiefs in this era of football have benefited from, Patrick Mahomes has yet to play a road playoff game. And that means something because you don't have to get a flight Friday afternoon. You don't have to get a flight Saturday afternoon and go, make preparations to go to somebody else's building and try to beat them in the playoffs. You haven't had to do it from, I mean, you've played the first weekend of the series of the playoffs rather, with the expanded wild card, but still it accounts for something that you really the only time you've gotten on a plane in January or February rather for that mark, if you're Patrick Mahomes, is to go to the Super Bowl where you've been three times. But nonetheless, this might be the year where that might change. I mean, you look at Baltimore, things have opened up for them immensely in the AFC North due to injuries. I mean, you look at it like this: the Ravens are the only current team in the AFC North that has their starting quarterback, who was expected to be their starting quarterback when the season began. Deshaun Watson's season is over for the Browns. Joe Burrow's season is over for the Cincinnati Bengals. We don't know what's going to happen with Kenny Pickett. He already had surgery on that ankle. And I mean, honestly, that's a hard ask to ask him to come back. So what I'm saying is Baltimore looks like they're going to be in a good shot to possibly get home field advantage. Miami's 9-3. They've already lost to Baltimore, pardon me, to Buffalo already this season, who is their top competition in the AFC East. However, the Bills still got to go to Miami and play the Dolphins. All right. Jacksonville, they're more than likely going to win the AFC South. They revenged their earlier loss of the season to the Houston Texans. The Jags are still the team to beat, could possibly lose a game or two here or there, but nonetheless, Kansas City's really got to go out there and take care of their business. And it's not as easy when the folks that Patrick Mahomes has to throw the football to are not getting the job done like they have been in years past. You look at Travis Kelsey, even as he's, bumming it out through the injuries, he's still, arguably the best at his position. But opposing defenses are finally starting to do what they've needed to do for the last couple of years, which is double and triple team him. And obviously, it's easier to do when the threat at the wide receiver position is not there. And basically, what we've seen in the last couple of games for Kansas City is opposing defenses are basically daring somebody else for Kansas City to go out there and make a play. And you figure if Kelsey's going to be consistently doubled and triple teamed in the fashion that he currently is, somebody's going to see some one-on-one coverage, obviously, and somebody's possibly going to be wide open. Mahomes is smart enough and has enough tools, in the box to go out there and put his team in the best position to win. He's going to find you and he's going to get you the football, but you got to hold up your end of the bargain, which is going out there and catching it, which obviously has been an issue for the Kansas City receivers this season. I also put this on the Chiefs front office. They didn't go out there, make a splash possibly at the trade deadline, possibly give up a pick or two to try to upgrade that position because Kansas City, for what it's worth, they're still built to win the AFC West. I mean, the Chargers can't get out of their own way. The Broncos had that slow start. They've gotten it going. The Raiders, what can you say about the Raiders? I mean, they're fighting, scrapping, and clawing for interim head coach Antonio Pierce, but they're not going to put a real threat into the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are still the team to beat in that division. However, you're going to be judged, of course, by what you can and cannot do come the month of January. And as good as Patrick Mahomes is, he cannot do it by himself. So I'm looking at Kansas City. They are still a legit contender, yes, to come out of the AFC, and we got to see how things break. But nonetheless, the way that they have played, at least over the last couple of weeks, does not put a lot of confidence in people. More importantly, at the wide receiver position. Why? Because there is no longer the fear. And I know that when you are the defending Super Bowl champions and you've won multiple Super Bowls in the last 5 years, obviously opponents are going to get up for you. I totally get it. I totally understand it. However, there's not the threat there from this offense like we've seen in years past. I mean, you go back a couple of years when they had Tyreek Hill. I mean, listen, teams had double and triple covers on Tyreek Hill, and he still burned them. And it was kind of like, pick your poison. Do we want to cover Tyreek or do we want to cover Travis Kelsey? And in some situations, both of them are wide open. You ain't got that situation right now. So again, this Chiefs team, They're good to go as far as winning this division. They're clearly going to make the playoffs. They're clearly going to have at least one home playoff game. But can Mahomes try to find some more of that pixie dust to make it happen? He's a wizard. He's a magician back there in the pocket, but again, one man can't do it by himself. So at the end of the day, regardless of what happens for the Chiefs throughout the rest of this regular season and in the playoffs, they've got to go into the offseason and say, "Hey, we've got to put more talent around Mahomes at the wide receiver position." You don't necessarily have to go out there and do what the Patriots did in 2007, bringing in Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth, and others. No, but you still got to go out there and put talent around this guy. You can't take him for granted, because if you do, and you figure we can just put anybody around this guy, 10 years from now, we could be like, wow, you know what? What could have been for Patrick Mahomes? And I mean, we've seen it so often with great quarterbacks where you like the talent around them, or at least the teams rather, take it for granted. And you know what? They leave titles on the table. And Patrick Mahomes, he's in the prime of his career right now. This is the time that you got to strike while this iron's hot. So let's see what's going to happen coming down the stretch for Kansas City during this regular season. Obviously, going into January, into the playoffs, and depending on where things go from there, let's see how this team tries to upgrade the skill positions around number 15. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.